Hello, everyone, and welcome to A New Direction. My name's Jay Izzo, and oh man, do we have another great show for you today. Been off for a couple of weeks, had a little surgery. Well, it was more than a little surgery, but we took a couple weeks off. We're back. We're excited, and stepping back into the show again. And I got this great. I met this great guy online who had this great book that just really was inspiring to me. It falls right in line with the research I've been doing. His name's David McNally. The book is called If You're Alive, which, by the way, you must be if you're listening to my show. Your mission on Earth isn't finished. He's laughing. I know some of you can't see him. An inspiring guy for discovering what's next. Fabulous book. Folks, let me just say something to you about this whole thing. If you're alive, your mission on Earth isn't finished. I coach a lot of people across a lot of age groups. Young people, retired folks, mostly I'm in that CEO, C-suite, sales professional area. And so most people are, generally between the ages of 35 and 65. That's typically who I coach. But every one of them that I've talked to, I ask the same question. I ask them, what's your purpose? And it's met with silence typically. And I'm asking you as an audience, right? Some of you are watching me live. Some of you are listening by podcast or radio, AM, FM, 24/7 radio across the country. Maybe listening to me. And I ask you that question, what's your purpose in life? And people will say, well, they have a hard time describing it. And so often we get caught up into the idea that purpose is something that I'm doing right now. So, and I think it's bigger than that personally. My personal view is that, and I say this statement, and here's what I want you to think about. If you are what you do, who will you be when you don't do that anymore? I'm asking you that question personally. If you are what you do, who will you be when you don't do that anymore? And because if so often we think our purpose is about what we do right now. But when we strip away those labels, what happens, and what David McNally makes so clear, is that so often when we stop doing what we've done our whole life, we kind of get lost. No, we get very lost. Because we focused on, well, this is what I've always done. And what we don't do is we don't expand our mind to the possibilities that are out there, that you are so much more than what you have done in your life. That you are, it comes out of knowing who you are. And this is the other thing about David's book. And I apologize to him up front because I may call him Dave because I have a lot of friends that are Daves. And so if I say Dave, please don't be offended, David. But here's the thing about all this. Is that how well do you know who you are? Because the one thing that I pull out of this book is you have got to be self-aware of knowing yourself. What are your core values? You want to get to your mission? What are your core values? What do you really believe? This is so fundamentally important. And this is what we're going to be talking about, a variety of different topics on getting to your mission, because the truth of the matter is you are not done. And if you feel lost right now, I don't care what age you are, this book is for you too. Because it's not just about aging and trying to figure it out, which, my career didn't start until after 50. Didn't. And I'm thriving in what I'm doing. I'm loving what I do. And I do several things now that I wish I would have done younger when I was younger. I just didn't know. So that's what we're going to try to help you do today, is try to get you to live a life of thriving. Let me introduce you to my friend, David McNally. David McNally has always been fascinated by human potential and the possibilities, no matter who we are, where we started in life, and soaring to new heights of achievement. David's extensive international career has allowed him the privilege of working with organizations such as Delta Airlines, the Walt Disney Imagineers, Ameriprise, Habitat for Humanity, and many, many more. David is the author of the best-selling books, Even Eagles Need a Push, Learning to Soar in a Changing World, The Eagle's Secret, Success Strategies for Thriving at Work and in Life, be your own brand, achieving more of what you want to be, and being more of who you are. Great books, by the way. His latest effort here is "If You're Alive, Your Mission on Earth Isn't Finished." No matter what age, we can stay engaged in life in a way that ensures living is always meaningful and fulfilling. He's a member of the Speakers Hall of Fame, is a globally recognized thought leader on topics of purpose and meaning. He's got best-selling books, films, corporate training programs have been released all over 20 different countries. He's host of Dynamic Power YouTube series, The Inspired Elder, and he presents weekly messages designed to ensure your next years are among your best years. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show. Welcome for the first time, and probably not the last time, David McNally. David, welcome to A New Direction.
Well, thank you, Jay. That was a wonderful introduction, and I think a beautiful way of establishing the direction of our conversation. So I thank you for inviting me to be on your show. I'm kind of getting even more excited about being here.
Good. I want you to be excited because I'm excited about doing this. I'm going to just jump right into the introduction. Something that you said right at the very beginning of the book is, no matter our age, to live meaningful, human beings need a sense of purpose and the willingness to continue to learn and grow. Let's talk about this idea that regardless of how old we are, we want to live a meaningful life with a sense of purpose and a willingness to learn and grow. Talk us through why that has become such a theme and is going to become a theme throughout this book, and why that's so important.
Well, I think if we look at it at what is it, the end game that we are all looking for as human beings, I like to say, Jay, that we live life on a feeling level. And if we start to understand that, then what we need to think about is, what is it that creates good feelings within me? Now, of course, we want to feel healthy. You just said you've been through surgery.
Yeah.
You want to get your life back. You want to get your health back. You want to be able to get out and walk and do whatever you need to do. So there are good feelings that come from health. There are good feelings that come from relationships. But some of the very best feelings are the feelings that come from when we feel that what we do and how we live our lives has meanings. So that's up to us, however, to create those good feelings and to examine what brings us to that end game of living life positively on a feeling level. Now, it doesn't mean that we feel good all the time. Sad things happen. And those sad feelings, the grief if we've lost loved ones like I have, they're very, very valid. But that doesn't take away the fact that I have a reason for still getting up in the morning. And so when you look at that, you say, yes, what is my compelling reason to get up in the morning? Which gets back to what you were suggesting, to continue to grow and contribute and to live that meaningful life.
You talk about purposeful practices, which, by the way, can be a tongue teaser for me a little bit here, as purposeful practices. What you set it up by saying one question is particularly relevant as it speaks to being intentional about how we live our lives. What is the practice, ritual, behavior, or habit that you engage in daily or regularly that contributes to your sense of well-being and motivation to keep living life fully? Talk about purposeful practices and the importance of having those as we start to search for our mission and our purpose.
I think it's really the purposeful practice for me, for example, is that I get up early in the morning, and the first thing I want to do is I want to align my thoughts to what I want to create for that day and how I want to experience that day. Now, why it's a purposeful practice is that I'm not immune, like you are not, or any other human being is to have negative thoughts at night.
Absolutely.
I call them I call them bully thoughts, the thoughts that cause us to worry and be concerned, whether it's about our own lives, about the future, whether it's about our family, whatever it may be. It could be as big as the state of the world. I like to, when I'm talking to an audience now, I say to them, what is the world that you live in? Do you live in a world of ain't it awful? Or do you live in the world of isn't that amazing? Because the world that we live in affects and impacts the way we experience every day of our lives. So my purposeful practice is I get up early and make my coffee, sit down, I have a journal. I've been doing this, Jay, for over 40 years, and I write in my journal and I document some of my thoughts and some of my feelings in that journal. Sometimes I might talk about some wonderful things that have happened or some challenging things that have happened. But the idea is that I then say, how do I want to think today about my life today? But in fact, I also bring myself back into the day. I say the only guarantee that I have is what I have right in front of me at this moment. And that's a practice. That's like an athlete getting up in the morning, whether they feel like it or not, and getting out there and running their 5 miles or whatever it might be. That's my practice, because I know I need to do that if I'm to have the life that I want to live.
I have a practice of getting up every morning early and writing down 7 gratitudes. I have these gratitude cards, these to be grateful. And I started this, I don't know how many years ago. I started years ago. And I started doing it, and I started realizing, without realizing, that my life was changing because of the way I was thinking. And because I was grateful, I was seeing opportunity. And in addition to doing gratitude, I have my devotional time where I spend, a good 30 to 45 minutes in my devotional time, just working on my mind and my spirit and my soul and my emotions and getting myself mentally really ready, because I know that the day is going to present itself with stuff that I don't know what's coming. But I know that if my mind is right and I've put myself in the right mindset, my purposeful practices, I know that if I start my day that way, the rest of my day is much easier to handle. And I've been doing this now for, I can't even tell you how many, it's over a decade. So I don't know where I've been doing this every day. And it does make a difference, doesn't it? Just getting your mind right first in the morning, it sets the tone for you physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, doesn't it? And even relationally, I would argue relationally too.
I think if you look at it, Jay, first of all, it's a wonderful practice, and I love the way that you go about that, and I think people can learn from that, because the practice of gratitude is so significant, because it ensures that we're focusing on what we have rather than what we don't have.
Mhm.
And in our culture, in our society, and the way that we have images pushed at us every day, whether it's on television or whether we're listening to radio and listening to advertisements, we're always seeing what other people are enjoying or appear to be enjoying. And and so we get into the whole mindset of I wish I had that, or I wish I had this, and rather than saying, but this is what I do have, and dealing with that reality and saying, my gosh, in fact, I have quite a lot if I only give it that much thought. But it also, we need to understand, Jay, that as you have undoubtedly heard several times, we are the creators, we are the sculptors of our lives. We truly are. And from the moment we get up in the morning, we are creating. And you talk about relationships. If we're in a partnership, we have a loved one at home or whoever it might be, or even the first person we come in contact, we're creating the mood, the feeling, that what exists. So whether we do something kind for that person, whether we tell that person we love them or we adore them, whatever it is, that we help create that mood. And then for our own lives, if we talked about the practice, but if we want to stay physically healthy, we're creating that by the exercise that we do, if we create the way that we eat, all of those things are about how we are creating our lives, because it's every action that builds upon another action that leads to the result that we want. So if we look at our lives as an ongoing creative act and process, then we start to understand the impact that we have on the outcome of our lives and what we are looking for. And often people don't realize that. They're not conscious about what they are creating. So when we talk about your practice or my practice, what is it doing? It's making us conscious creators of our lives. And if people want to get to the result that they want, if they want to live their lives with meaning and purpose, if they want to accomplish the goals that they have in their life, get conscious about what you're doing every day.
So beautifully said. Moving on to chapter 1, which is entitled, and you're going to have to explain. I mean, I've read it, but I'm going to have you explain it, because the title of chapter 1 is "Give In, Don't Give Up." Okay, now when I first read that title, right before I started reading the rest of the chapter, I was like, "Well, David, I don't give in to anything." Okay, and then and then you go, "Don't give up," and I'm like going, "Okay, now you're confusing." Of course, I read the chapter and I understood what you mean, but maybe I would like you to explain it. Give in, don't give up. What do you mean by when you say that?
Yeah, well, obviously it's a play on words,
Right.
and it's designed to get people thinking. But what it is this: is that give in to what is, but don't give up on what could be. So the giving in, another way of looking at giving in is accepting life as it is, and what happens to you, you accept it. Like, classic example. I have lost two wives. I've been married twice and I've lost them. I've had a debilitating experience with cancer. So it's to, if you don't get to acceptance of what is, what happens is you're fighting it, you're angry at God or whoever it may be you want to take your anger at, and you're resisting a fact. You're resisting the reality of life as it is unfolding. So giving in is just give in to life as it is, as it unfolds, and accept it. The giving up, however, is yes, give in to that, but don't give up on the possibilities for your life. You still move forward despite the circumstances that present themselves, because anything great that has ever been accomplished has always had that resistance, has always faced obstacles, circumstances. Goals are not concrete, goals are a direction in which you take your life. So that's the distinction. Give into what is, do not give up what could be.
And I loved that, because it's assessing where am I at right now, but the possibilities are so endless. And this is where you say this in the book. You say, have you ever said to yourself, one day I'm gonna, meaning there was something you very much want to do or achieve or explore. What is still on that list? Please, and you're begging people here, please don't leave this planet with your best music still in song. When you say that, what are you really imploring people to do?
Well, everybody has something on their one day I'm gonna list. And so many people get to the end of their lives and say, I didn't do what I said I always wanted to do. And what I'm saying to people is this: what are you waiting for? And no matter your age, what are you waiting for? Because there's always a way that you can approach what you want to accomplish. I had one person in my audience, he just had this wake up call. He was a golfer, always wanted to play Pebble Beach. He said, what am I waiting for? I'm 62 years of age. What am I waiting for? And within a week, he was on a plane and playing golf in Pebble Beach. Now, that may seem a very minor example, but it doesn't make any difference. Whatever it is that's on your one day I'm going to list, do not have the arrogance. And that's why I say arrogance, is because I'm at an age where, while I'm in really good health, I'm not arrogant to think I'm going to be here tomorrow. And none of us can have that arrogance. Pull that pull that forward. As you know, I share in my book that just before my 72nd birthday, I put myself through the process. And what did I come up with? One day I'm going to go to college. I thought, my goodness, you're going to be 72. You better get a move on. I mean, and so I have 5 children. I'd help get them through college, but I'd never been to college. And I said, yes, I would love to go to college. I want that experience. I want to get a degree. I want to do something like that. And so I went to the most marvelous uh, uh, person at the University of Minnesota, because that's where I live. And they told me about a program for seniors where you can get credit at a very, very reasonable cost. And you can spend as much time doing whatever courses that you want to do. And if you want to end up getting a degree, you can get a degree. I started that fall and I became a freshman at the age of 72. And I have loved it. I'm absolutely loved being in college with all of those young people. They keep you energetic, they keep you vibrant. And I've had with them the most extraordinary experiences, which I talk about one of them in my book. I mean, they're just absolutely delightful. So, it's very exciting for me to be doing that.
His name is David McNally. His book is If You're Alive, Your Mission on Earth Isn't Finished. Fantastic book. Get yourself a copy wherever books are sold, Amazon included. We'll be right back after these messages. You're listening to him here on A New Direction. Hey, one click. That's all it takes for ransomware or phishing to shut your business down. Stop the threat at the source with Data 443's Siren. Cyren, powered by the world's most robust threat intelligence network. Siren detects and blocks attacks in real time, protecting your data, your employees, and your reputation. Stop hoping you're safe. Start knowing that you're safe. Visit data443.com and look up Siren, and right now, and you'll see the solution in action. And Linda Craft Team Realtors. We all know buying and selling a home isn't just a transaction. It's actually a major life transition. Whether you're buying your first place, making room for a new baby, or downsizing for retirement can be incredibly stressful. That is why you need the Linda Craft Team Realtors. For over 40 years, Linda has been helping people in her community and all over the world actually navigate these big life changes. Her team doesn't just sell houses. They take the stress out of the process so that you can focus on your future. Don't go it alone. Let 40 plus years of experience work for you. Visit lindacraft.com. That's LINDACRAFT.com. And we're back here on A New Direction with my friend David McNally. If you're alive, which you have to be, otherwise you're not listening to the show, your mission on Earth isn't finished. I think he's going to get a smile every time I say that. I think he's going to. I think I'm going to make him smile every time I say it. He didn't know what he was in for when he came onto my show, but he's slowly kind of getting the note that this is about energy and fun and helping people grow, and he's certainly having that. In this chapter 1, before we move on, I want to just to quote from Twyla Tharp in her book, Keep It Moving. She says, and I want you to just talk about this because I think it's just brilliant. Age is not the enemy. Stagnation is the enemy. Talk about that.
We go back to what we were saying a little earlier, and that is, what are we here for? As a human being, what brings us, again, the greatest joy and the most positive feelings? It is the fact that we are committed continually to learn and grow. And I like to use the word, and I think we're going to get into that. We are here to contribute. And so one of the greatest disservices that has been done to us is this whole notion of retirement, that people get to a certain age and they say that's the retirement age. Well, The only reason that retirement ever came up was that the government needed a stake in the ground to tell us when they would give us the Social Security money that we had been putting into for so many years. But retirement has now taken on an energy that does not serve us, and that energy is about the fact that our lives are practically over. That as you talked about a little bit earlier, that we've had an identity for so many years. Now we're losing that identity, and there is nothing more for us to do for the rest of our lives. And that's why you get so many people who have got to 65 have had this vision of what retirement would look like the cruises and the golf and whatever that may be, and that's all wonderful. I don't have a problem with that, but to have that as be all that you have left, and then to keep repeating that and keep repeating that, that's not going to work for you, because we have a brain with billions of cells. We have a spirit within us that desires much more out of life than that. And so what we need to understand is that we've written at 65 the first few chapters of a book. And now we're going to start to write some brand new chapters. We're going to start to discover things about ourselves we had never given thought that existed within us. You used some terms that I love, and that was that this is a time for emotional and spiritual growth. This is the time to discover things about ourselves that we had never known about ourselves, and then to go on to this great creative part of our lives where we start doing things that we never dreamed that we would be able to do, but brings us such joy and such great feelings. So when you look at the question that you're asking, what Twyla is saying is this: is look, and she made that statement when she was 85, was look, you hang in there, all right. If you want, you can stagnate, right, but that's when people are going to call you old. What I like to say, Jay, is this: I'm 80 in August. I don't use the word old. I'm not denying that I'm older. Of course, I'm older. But if you start putting energy on that word old, all of a sudden you're going to see a decrepit geezer out there who's just waiting and circling the wagons and waiting for the end. That's not who I am. I want to go out in flames. I just want to make sure that I'm going to the very last minute, and I'm going to do everything possible. Again, it's not a denial of being older. My body tells me I'm older. Right? I understand that. I look in the mirror and I'm going, oh my gosh, who is that? Right? Is that person? But there he is, and he's staring right back at me. But when I go out every day, I've had about 4 meetings today, business type meetings today, right? And now if I don't mind saying, I'm completing my day in a way with you. Man, what a day this has been, and it's exciting. And that's what she's talking about. What are you going to do to create that excitement in your life? And there's so much that's possible.
So beautiful. I'm at chapter 2. Got one thing here I want to talk about. The chapter is entitled "To Wither or to Thrive," and you say something here that I just found so just really hit me hard. Here's what you say: if there is a magical quality to life, it is the human spirit. Sometimes we just must move forward by faith. Oh, we don't hear that often, David. Talk about that.
Well, I think there's no question that where would we be without faith and hope? Where would we be? Because no matter who we are, we face challenges. We cannot escape the challenges of life, right? And so, with faith is the ability to be able to see that this too will pass, whatever way you want to say it, or all will be well. Whatever expression that you want to use and affirm, faith is the affirming of that. Like when I grieved significantly for my two wives. The first one died of ovarian cancer, the second one of Alzheimer's. The greatest piece of advice I got, Jay, from someone at that time is this: is that, David, don't listen to people who keep asking you, when are you going to move on? David, and this is someone who'd lost their husband, she said, David, I will never move on from that man because I loved him dearly. You never move on from those you love, but you can move forward. You can move forward. And I believe that takes, however, is faith, is that you move forward despite the grief that you feel, so that you can then get into that experience of life where you start to learn some of the ambiguities of life, Jay. And some of those ambiguities are that grief and gratitude can coexist. Grief and joy can coexist. So, as you're experiencing the grief, you can also experience moments of joy. If I wake up in the morning, as I often have, and I still feel the grief, I can also experience the gratitude of living where I live, of having a wonderful family, of having a purpose for getting up in the morning. I can still experience that gratitude, but that doesn't mean that I don't experience the sadness that comes from losing, people that I have dearly loved.
Wow. Uh, that that really hit hard. Thank you for your honesty and your vulnerability. That's so beautifully said, and I hope the people who are listening here will take that to heart because what you just said is so powerful, and we get so caught up into our own selfishness and our own, you know, how we feel, and we can roll down this road of grief so easily that we can forget that there's actually joy still that's out there to be had and to be found. And what you just did there was so powerful. And so thank you.
Thank
Uh,
you.
that's so powerful. Boy, it's hard to move on from that. To be really honest with you, that's really hard to move on. I'm going to do it anyway. Chapter 4 is called A Yearning for Purpose, and I want to make sure that we get there. Ralph Waldo Emerson, you have a quote that he said, "The purpose of life is not to be happy. It is to be useful, to be honorable, and to be compassionate, to have it make some difference that you lived and lived well." Talk about this. Let's talk about this idea of purpose, and it's going to move us into the word contribution eventually here because it's just a few paragraphs down the road. But let's talk about this idea of purpose. I think it's hard for people to wrap their minds around purpose, and we've been dancing around it, and we've even talked about it a little bit. But let's talk about what it really is and what we're really trying to get at here.
Yeah, it's a big one, and it's one that I believe we need to come at it in a reframing way. Let's reframe it, because we get stuck in the whole idea of what is my purpose. And so I like to take people to 35,000 feet level. I like to take them way high and say, now let's look down not only at your life, but let's have a look at the 8 billion people on this planet. Right now, it's a big ask. I realize it's a big ask, but let's do that. And why I say that is that 8 billion people are endeavoring to live mostly the best lives they can, or the best lives that their existence allows them to live, right? So everyone's endeavoring to do that. But when you look at humanity and the human species, the march continues to be forward. It may not feel like that at times, but the circumstances in which you and I live were not thought about 150, 200 years ago, right? So I grew up in Australia, and people say to me, "Oh, I've always wanted to go to Australia." And I say, "Well, why don't you?" And they start to get specific with me, and they say, "Well, tell me how how do you get there?" I say, "Well, usually you leave LA and then you go to Sydney." "Well, how long is that flight?" And I say 15 hours. Oh my goodness. I could never spend 15 hours on a flight. And I have to remind them that, again, 150 years ago, it would have taken you 3 months and you had a 50-50 chance of dying on the voyage going across. I said, so now you are sitting in a tube going 500 mile an hour, and you have as many movies as you could possibly watch to take the time away. And within 15 hours, you're in the land of koala bears and kangaroos and a whole different environment. I said, so let's put this into perspective, right? I'm saying that to bring us down to the fact that we're all moving forward, and every one of us plays a part. I don't know whether you know the name Buckminster Fuller. Buckminster Fuller was a genius architect, and he created what is known as the geodesic dome. And it's a magnificent structure. If your listeners look it up, the GEO geodesic dome. But Buckminster Fuller had this statement. He said, "On spaceship Earth, there are no passengers, only crew." So we are all part of the march of humanity, helping move it forward. So when we believe that we're insignificant, no. Every life is important. Every listener onto this show of yours is very important. There's no question. As again, Mother Teresa said, people say what I do, oh, well, it's only a drop in the ocean. And then she would answer, yes, but the ocean would be less without that drop. So we're all doing something to help move it forward. So the question is, our purpose is to find out how best we can help move things forward. So what is our contribution? So in discovering our purpose, we look at what is our contribution, and how we look into our contribution is, what are the gifts and talents that I have? How do I identify them? What are the skills that I've developed? And then what is it that I love? And what is it that I feel passionate about? So that applies to us, Jay, throughout all of our lives, right from the beginning in college. When I speak to a group of college potential graduates, I say to them, listen, before you get out into the workplace looking for a job, understand this: companies are not looking to give you a job, but they are looking for people who will contribute to their success. So you need to be thinking about, if you're looking at a particular organization, what is the value that you can bring to them? And that applies throughout all of our career, however. If you look at our career trajectory, how are we continuing to contribute value to those whom we serve within our organization, no matter what that organization might be? And then as we get older, and perhaps, as we talked about earlier, we're creating a new identity, I still have those gifts. I still have those skills. I still have those talents. So now, however, I need to find a vehicle to that I believe strongly about, to continue my contribution to this march of humanity and helping everything move forward in a positive way. That's how you discover your individual purpose.
We're going to dig into this after this commercial break, but This is so good, and I really hope that people. I hope you're really digging into this and paying attention to this. And I know that so many of you watching, or those of you listening podcast or by radio, folks, I hope you're writing this down, because it's these things these are life-changing moments that we get to have occasionally on the show. I would say most shows are this way, but man, you're getting gold. You are absolutely getting gold. His name is David McNally. The book, If You're Alive, Your Mission on Earth Isn't Finished. An inspiring guide for discovering what's next. Outstanding. You can hear it. He's amazing, isn't he? You're listening to him here on A New Direction. Hey, in a digital world, your inbox is the front line. Is yours defended? Data 443 Siren, CYREN, provides next generation anti-phishing and threat detection that works instantly in the cloud. It's the invisible shield that keeps your business running smoothly while blocking the chaos outside. Protect what you're built, protect your people. Head over to data443.com, data443.com. Check out Siren, get protected today. You're not going to regret it. I promise you, you won't. And Linda Craft Team Realtors, let me just say something here. If you are planning to move, you have to check out lindacraft.com. Honestly, I'm biased. I get it. I think it's the best website, real estate website on the planet. It's more than just home listings. Linda understands that moving impacts your whole family. That includes kids and pets. That's why her website features exclusive advice from a child psychologist on how to help kids adjust to a move, and tips from a veterinarian on how to move with pets. It is a complete emotional resource center for your family. See the difference for yourself. Log on today at lindacraft.com. That's LINDACRAFT.com. And we're back here on A New Direction with David McNally. If You're Alive, Your Mission on Earth Isn't Finished, an inspiring guide for discovering what's next. Fabulous book. And he's even better than the book. I mean, the book is outstanding. He's better than that in person. He's outstanding. I could stay at his feet and just listen to him all day. And sadly, this is the last segment of the show. When we get into chapter 5, after contribution, because there's a big part of this, which is entitled Whatever Is Once Wasn't. You ask a question, and I'd like you to elaborate on it. What if there was no finish line? I think it was done by Mitch Anthony, and I think is what is the new retire mentality. Talk to us about that mindset switch of what if there's no finish line.
Thank you. And thank you for acknowledging Mitch Anthony, because I don't obviously want to take other people's lives. And as you know, I quote Mitch in that book. And that is, I believe, going back, and he was one of the pioneers in reframing retirement. And has done a brilliant job over the years to be able to help us understand that that's a false goal. Retirement is a false goal. And I believe it was Mitch that came up with the notion of refirement. We need to get refired. I use in my book, we need to reignite ourselves. And so the finish line is when it's all over. That's the finish line, right? There isn't a part or stake at any time in our lives when life is over. There's no specific time when everything is hunky dory. I like to say there's no place in life called made it. There really isn't. And people say, "Oh, you've got it made," or "You made it." No, because life keeps coming at you day after day after day. And if you get too comfortable with life, life has a tendency to provide opportunities for great discomfort. So the no finish line is to understand that we continue to move forward, as we've talked about, and until the very end. But I like to say, as we get older, we need new role models. We need people to teach us, like you talked about Twyla Tharp, right? age isn't the enemy, stagnation is the enemy. I like to say that age is a chronological fact, not an indictment. So the finish line doesn't exist. And so we I look at what I'm doing right now. I've got the audio version of the book coming out. I've had the greatest fun being in a recording studio, right? But one of the great stories I had in the recording studio, and this is when you're engaged, things happen that you're not expecting. There are extra benefits. So I'm sitting in the recording studio, and it's a big studio, and they've got other booths. And a man walks in with a walker on a walker, and behind him is a younger woman. And I thought, I wonder what he's coming into the studio for. And so I asked the recording engineer, and he said, "Oh, that's Ed." And I said, "Well, who's the woman?" "That's his daughter." "Well, what's Ed coming in for?" "He's coming in to record an album. He's 93 years of age. He's
Wow.
coming in to record an album, and he's an accordion player." And the engineer said to me, "But get this, this is his fourth album. This is his fourth album." So I finished what I was going to record for the day, and I said, "You think he'd let me meet him?" So we go in, and I meet this guy. Oh my God! His daughter has to lift the accordion onto his lap because he's not strong enough. But away he goes, Jay, and he plays this accordion like heaven. It is so fantastic. He's 93. So the session finishes, and I say to him, "Would you be willing to have coffee with me? Because I want to find out what his purpose is. I want to find out about." He said, "I'd love to, David." So I said, "I'll call you." He dies 10 days later, totally unexpectedly. I was so devastated that I didn't have the opportunity to meet this man. But the lesson, at 93, there was no finish line for him. He's going to be in that recording studio, recording his albums and giving pleasure to so many people. He was an inspiration to his family, and an inspiration to me, and an inspiration to so many. So that's what I think mean by no finish line. It's the Pablo Casals, the great cellist, who at 85 was asked, why did he keep practicing for 5 hours a day? He said, "Because I think I'm getting better." This is what we're looking for, isn't it? Right? This is what we're looking for. Yeah.
It really is. And what a tremendous story. You're right though. I think we make these arbitrary finish lines. It's arbitrary, right? Because
Yes.
it's really not true. None of it's true about when I retire. So I've crossed no, you haven't crossed the finish line. You're just crossing over to your next whatever. It's not the end of something. It's the creation of something else, or at least it should be. Is when people retire, which I don't believe in the word retire. I just believe that we just keep going, and we should. It's my personal opinion. I have no desire to ever retire. I have desire to contribute and to be an integral part of society and contribute economically and whatever my God-given talents and abilities and gifts are. I want to use those, and I have so many that I'm discovering as I'm going along, that allow me to do a variety of different things. And discovering that was not an easy thing to do, was discovering what my God-given gifts, talents, and abilities are. And then eventually I did. And for me, I have my own creation, and we're very, very close. And you say something here, all people come equipped with their own special genius, which I think is so critical, because we all do. We all have, I've heard it said, I don't remember where it was said, but we all have a set of God-given gifts, talents, abilities, and skills in a combination like no one else. It is our fingerprint. if you will, on life. It's just that we don't know, like we can't really see our fingerprints on our hands or our toe prints on our toes. We don't really know them. And you have come up with a little bit of a discovery process here. And I want to talk about this discovery part. It's 3 questions. And you say, answer the following questions. What am I good at? What do I find easy to do? And what is one of my special abilities? Let's talk about these as we help people kind of maybe do some self-discovery here. When you say what I'm good at, or let's talk into, because it's easy just to say, well, what am I good at? I think people need a little bit more direction than going, well, I don't even know what I'm good at. So help them kind of go, all right, what should they be looking for?
Well, the question is not what am I the best in the world at? It's what am I good at? If people are honest with themselves, I mean, they will know if they're good at fixing things. They will know if they're good at building relationships. They will know whether they are musically inclined. That the things that come more naturally to them. What am I good at? And the opposite of that is, I'm not technologically, mechanically dysfunctional. I can't do anything. I had one of my daughters come visit me on the weekend, and she's an artist, and she's also fantastic at fixing things. I mean, she spent the weekend going around. My goodness, Dad, how can you let this go? And I say, I don't even notice it. She spent the weekend fixing all sorts of different things. So what am I good at is really to acknowledge, yeah, okay, I am good at that. I mean, I'm not the Michael Jordan of fixing things, but I'm I'm good at that. And so, but it's to identify that, because by that identification, it's like getting to what you were talking about. Okay, I'm sort of I'm discovering my uniqueness. I'm discovering what is important about me, and what was brought into me as a human being, as separate. Like, I have 5 children, and every one of them is different in the way that they are good at certain things. So it's acknowledging that, and I think that's the start of the process of really getting to discover what we call your genius. And let's be clear about genius. We're not trying to say that you are an Einstein or someone like that, but we are saying that there are things about you that are very unique, and you need to acknowledge, because by acknowledging them, these are the tools with which we create our lives. And so once you understand that, all of a sudden you can start to access them and bring them into being in terms of what you want to do.
You're so right. And sadly, we've run out of time.
Mm.
And it's an hour, and it's gone so fast. David.
It has gone very fast.
It has gone so. I tell people all the time, people say, "Oh gosh, you're going to do an hour? That's going to be forever." No, do you agree that it's just gone so quickly?
It has. It has been wonderful. I've thoroughly enjoyed the experience.
This has been fun for me too. I hope you've had as much fun as I have had being with you, because I certainly have had so much fun. Would you please tell people how they can find you and get a hold of you if they want to get more information? Maybe they want to talk more and say, David, I want to find my purpose and contribution. How can I do that? Tell them how they can reach you.
Yes, absolutely. My first of all my books are available on Amazon. So if they love what you've been saying and say, I want to get a copy of that book, just go to Amazon. My website is very comprehensive, www.davidmcnally.com. It is very informative. It talks about my speaking, and if they want to contact me personally, info@davidmcnally.com, info@davidmcnally.com, and I will respond. They can be assured of that.
I could promise you he will. He's very, very prompt at doing that. You can also find him on LinkedIn, if you don't mind me pitching that out.
No, yeah, LinkedIn for sure, and Facebook. Yeah, all of that.
All of that. So he's really great. Thanks, David. Stay with me. Hey, folks, this is the show. You know what I say to you every week. You're in control of three things: your attitude, your effort, and your resiliency. The fact of the matter is that sometimes life doesn't give us what we want or what we expected, but you know what? You do have absolute control of your attitude. It's not always easy to do that, but you know what? You can control it. Make your attitude positive today. That will make things faster to get through. Your effort, which you're also control of, is tied to your excellence. We don't always have the same amount of energy in the tank, but the fact of the matter is you choose how excellent you will be with whatever you have left in your tank today. Make your excellence the absolute best. And then finally, you know what? We sometimes get punched in the gut or punched in the mouth and we get knocked down. It's up to us to get back up again. That's your resilience. And we need you to get back up. Why? Because you're worth it and we want you on the team. I'll be back next week with another great guest, another great book. It's automatically never the great show. Such an easy job. You had a lot of choices you chose up. Thank you so much. Give us a thumbs up on YouTube if you're watching us there. Wherever you're listening to the show, via podcast, would you please give us a 5-star review and tell your friends to tune in and listen. We really appreciate that. I'm so grateful to all of you. As I say all over the world, you know what that is. Ciao, everybody.